Sonic CD, the worst classic Sonic game, released on September 23, 1993, directed by Naoto Oshima. Released to the ill-fated Sega CD, this game might seem to have an average story, but I accidentally stumbled on its greatness, and I think Sonic CD accidentally made the greatest story in the franchise yet. Yes, even better than Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Sonic 2, Sonic Unleashed, and Sonic 06. Side note, I haven't finished any of the adventure games, so don't torch me alive, please. Thank you. But before that, I want to recap the story on a surface level. The story begins with Sonic running to see Little Planet, a planet that only appears once a month out of the year. But he found out that Dr. Eggman chained the planet so he could go after the Time Stones, stones that give you power to control time. So to save Little Planet, Sonic has to go through time to destroy robot generators to ensure a good future for Little Planet, saving it from Eggman's grasp. That's the story. You're probably asking, Dorian, what's so good about this game's story? Well, the great thing about this game's story is how it integrates the story with the visuals, music, and gameplay.
You can go again. Don't fall behind. Say don't be late. Destination heaven. Stay alive. That's you and me. We're going to have fun. Say, lights off.
Sonic CD has great visuals, but not only that, in my opinion, it does a great service in delivering the stakes of the game, because we, as the player, saw the active change in the world because of Dr. Eggman's actions. It's similar to one of the greatest games of all time, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. In the game, we take control of Link, who was assigned a fairy by the Great Deku Tree before his death. Link was tasked to go to Hyrule Castle to meet Zelda, and once Link meets her, they talked about Ganondorf and his plan to rule Hyrule. After getting tasked with obtaining the spiritual stones and successfully securing said stones, Link goes to the Temple of Time to open the Door of Time using the stones. Because Link is in desperation for the Master Sword, as seen in the scene before, we saw Zelda running away from Ganon. Once Link grabs the Master Sword, he passes out. Then we see Ganondorf laughing, because since Link opened the Door of Time, it gave Ganondorf a free entrance to the Sacred Realm, where the Triforce is placed. With all the power in the world in his hands, he ruled Hyrule for the next 7 years. During the whole time Link was asleep. After waking up, we see the once beautiful world that once ruled Hyrule turn into a terrifying area filled with creepy monsters. And it's up to Link to save Hyrule from Ganondorf's rule, to make it peaceful once more. You might be asking, why did I talk about Ocarina of Time's story? It's because this all applies to Sonic CD. We see someone trying to rule over the world, that being Eggman in Sonic CD's case. But the biggest part is the effect of the world, as Matthew Matosis puts it.
In most action-adventure style games that revolve around saving the world, you're given some idyllic place that needs protection, or a post-apocalyptic world where the struggle of the people compels you to try and help them. Either of these scenarios can only be so effective because we're left wondering about what exactly it is we're trying to prevent, or what exactly it is we're trying to restore.
This all applies to Sonic CD. The idyllic world is Little Planet's good future, and it needs protection, because if not, Little Planet turns into a post-apocalyptic world, aka the bad future of the game, where we are compelled to help the animals because of the struggles they go through, which is displayed by the visuals and music. could argue that it's not a one-to-one comparison, because it's easier to be attached to humans than animals and plants. And you can also argue that Ocarina of Time does world building much better, which I agree with. But I think it's still great, because we see both sides. We see what we are trying to prevent, and we also see what we are trying to protect. When you first play the game, which you can find for free, your playthrough probably won't meet the requirements for the good ending, which require the player to get all the time stones or travel to the past to destroy the robot generators, so that the bad feature doesn't occur. But because we won't meet the requirements for the good feature of the zone, we get to see the bad features of every zone, which you are probably thinking to yourself, nah, this is no problem, I'm gonna kick Eggman's ass and set Little Planet free. But as you step further and further into the game, you'll find that the bad feature is devoid of life, combined with a darker color palette, and once you get to Metallic Madness, you hear the music, and at first it seems like any other bad feature renditions. Groovy, yet more dangerous sounding than the other versions. So you bop your head to the music and move on. But then, Dr. Eggman starts laughing at you, mocking you, saying that
anything, so go and even try it. Get some help. Don't do what Sonic does.
what does he mean by this help? From what? What does Dr. Eggman mean when he said don't do what Sonic does? But I'm Sonic, I'm playing as him. So you continue, rushing to get to the final boss, beating every obstacle and goddamn pipes you find. And you're there. Final showdown in Act 3. And you win. But then it cuts to a shot of Eggman laughing with the time stone in his hand. So Sonic stops him again, as you listen to Cosmic Eternity, a great feel-good ending song. But as the credits end, we see the chained little planet come back as you realize Dr. Eggman used the time stone to turn back time for Little Planet, and that's why he was taunting Sonic, or you, the player, because you lost. You failed saving Little Planet, so you decide to play the game again. Well, now you know the stakes of the game, the world you're trying to save, and the world you're trying to prevent. So you run through every level, going to the past of every act, destroying the robot generators to secure a good future. You pass through Palm Tree Panic, Collision Chaos, Tidal Tempest, Quartz Quadrant, Goddamn Wacky Workbench, Stardust Speedway, and finally, Metallic Madness. You've seen the good features for the previous zones. You know that this is left. After enduring the marathon that is Metallic Madness Acts 1 and 2, after securing the good feature of Act 2, you step into Act 3. And you remember the good feature music of every zone, not really knowing what to expect. You go ahead. It was at this moment where everything clicked. The absolute bliss of the music and the beautiful color scheme being fully realized here. And the level being short so you can focus on you and Dr. Eggman. As Final Fever plays, you are reminded of what you are fighting for. And your memory reminds you of what you're trying to prevent. You won. Little Planet is secure. So it leaves, showing Sonic's face before it goes away. I always interpreted this as the planet thanking you. Yes, this also shows in the bad ending, but in my opinion, the importance of this scene is the satisfaction of the player, knowing that the planet won't be taken advantage of again. Except for this piece of shit, but we can ignore it, because Sonic Mania also ignored it. Therefore, it is non-canon. So you see at the end, some flowers are growing, the same flowers that once beating a zone drops. You can argue that the good ending isn't as different as Sonic 1's, which it is, but after what you've gone through, the flowers in the end are enough to feel like a cherry on top, compared to Sonic 1, where it feels like it was slapped on. Do I think overall Sonic CD is the best Sonic game? No, it's Sonic Mania. Do I think it's the best story ever? Of course not. So you may be asking why I talked about this game's story. Well, it's because of three main things. One, because I think it's a great example of a story being interwoven with the gameplay, music, and visuals, which is why I used Ocarina of Time as an example, and why I think Sonic CD's story is better than Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic 2's, even though I think both games have exceptional endings. 2. Because I believe that the game's story and the game itself is very underrated. I feel that Sonic CD is much better than what the community thinks, and I think that the most underrated part of Sonic CD is its story. Like, sure, it's accidental, but the way the game made me feel in the end is very real. And 3. Because I think it's a great video topic. Since I haven't finished any of the adventure games, I am putting my words at risk right now, so this could age really poorly, but right now that's where my opinion stands, and I think this could very much change.